I'm thrilled to welcome John Harper to the podcast. John is a dear friend. He is actually the person that told me about the Ritz-Carlton opportunity 20 plus years ago. We have a story that we can certainly share when we work together at Hyatt hotels. Right now, John is the co-founder and president of Global Hotel Advisors. He's been doing that for full time for 4 months with some incredible leaders that I know as well. Prior to that, area managing director, luxury operations, Eastern region for Marriott International, vice president of global sales, luxury and leisure, 17 years with Ritz-Carlton, vice president of sales, regional vice president of sales, a whole lot of phenomenal opportunities, and a dear friend. I tell stories often of John Harper, and we're going to get to some of those stories today. So John, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Bart. We are dear friends. We've known each other for a very long time, and we've worked closely together, and we do have a lot of stories to share. It's been an exciting journey, and it's great that you and I can pick up the phone at any time, and we just pick up from where we left off last time. So it's the best part of what our business is all about. So
yeah, for sure.
Precious.
Yeah, and John, I have to share this, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but we were working together. This was 1992, Grand Hyatt, Washington. I had been there before you, and then all of a sudden, this new young hotshot from Coakley Williams was coming on board named John Harper. And they said, Bart, can you help him out? Just integrate him into the Hyatt situation, be an informal mentor for him. I wanted to make sure that you were comfortable. We liked you immediately. Everyone liked you immediately. And then a couple of months into it, we realized this guy is probably smarter than all of us combined, in a good way. Don't accept it, okay? Accept this, Mr. Harper. But then I will never forget, it was a freak snowstorm. John, just to show the true colors of who you are, and I've shared this story without you knowing it to probably 10,000 people. Snowstorm happened. No one has winter coats. No one has ice scrapers. No one has shovels, but you happen to have some of those in your car. Everyone comes out to the outdoor parking lot where we would pay Joe $50 under the table to let us park there. Right before
but all right.
I paid $50. I don't know what you were paying, but I will never forget. You helped everyone clean off their car, and you didn't have a coat on. You waited until the last person left before you left. No one told you to do that. No one asked you to do that, but it was one of the most unselfish things I've ever seen. You weren't doing it because you wanted to get credit. You were doing it just because you're a good person, John. And that always, there's a few key memories from when we worked together at Hyatt. And that was one of the key memories, that here's this guy that wants to make sure everyone else is taken care of. And I will never forget that impression that you left with me on that day. And you have never disappointed me by always representing you, John Harper, as that person. I just wanted to thank you.
Thanks, Bart. It's a lot to start off the podcast with. And
sorry.
But starting at the Grand Hyatt was a huge step for me, and I wanted to go big time at the end of the day. And so I took an entry level, book 'em and cook 'em, really entry level role to try to just get my foot in the door, and then try to work harder than anybody to move up is really what my goal was. And as you look at the years that I've been doing this, I think one of the foundations of our business and the foundations of how I've always run it is all about relationships and how critical that is, particularly in hospitality. And so when you work with a team of 12 of us, I think there were at that time at the Grand Hyatt, it was
Some all-stars still. You realize that was an all-star group, Mr. Harper.
That was an all-star group, yeah. And you and I, we had all these senior big group convention sales managers that have been there for a while. And there's Bart with business travel, and there's me booking and cooking. So we had this natural bond because we weren't really fitting in with a bigger group. We were like the outsiders in some ways. So that's why we became so close and such great friends, is because we bonded on the fact that we're going to work hard and we're going to prove to everybody that we're just as good as everybody else in this team, and in better in some ways. And so that's how we connected as friends and as coworkers. And that's how we worked together, and that's why we had so many stories with the holiday parties and all the fun we had there. It was a great team, a great way to start in the business, and really a great culture in a lot of ways. But
We
were Van Jones and everybody else, and we had some players there.
Yeah, Joe Stern, and oh my gosh, I mean, there was the A-list of players, and at one point we won Sales Team of the Year for Hyatt Hotels. I still have the photograph somewhere where at least I look a lot younger than you know. But John, and I've asked you this separately before, you just shared you wanted to get in the door and you were going to make it by working harder than everyone else. Where does that drive come from, John? Because even to this day, even now starting your company with a couple of great partners, Global Hotel Advisors, you are still working harder than most people. Where does that drive come from, John?
Yeah, my dad, he was English. And so he immigrated to the U.S. when he was about 18 or 19. And he had like restaurants and snack bars in the department stores. And he's just a very interesting, incredible person because he worked so hard all the time. So I always saw him working very hard, but he also had this incredible ability that when it's 5 o'clock and it's happy hour, he could turn it off. And so watching him go all in and be committed and work really, he was working nonstop until we lost him at 82 years old. He's still working. He was working at Nordstrom's and he kept busy. So he always had this strong work ethic, but he always had this ability to say, you know what, work's done. Let's have some fun and some laughs and let's break away from it. And he could turn it off better than almost anybody I've ever known. And so I've always tried to follow that where I work hard. I care a lot about what I do. And I've had people tell me that you may care too much because it weighs on you a little bit. But when you care a lot about what you do and you care about the work that you do and the people you work with, you're going to naturally work extra hard because you care. But watching him and learning how to turn the switch off so that you can transition into something else is a really hard thing to do, but I watched him do it and I benefited from that. So that's a lot of where it came from. He came from England for the American dream. He wanted to find the American dream, and he just said, no matter what, I'm going to do everything I can to do it. But he kept a good balance throughout that process. But he's really and I've been working since I was 14 because I just wanted to follow in his footsteps and how just to keep it going. So
yeah,
that's a lot of where it came from.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry that he's gone, but the thought and the memory will stay obviously with you forever. John, whenever you said he was able to turn it off, was he and you are able to turn it off? What are you turning off? The worry, the concern, the pressure? What do you turn off?
It's my wife, who's been an incredible support for all the years, and I couldn't do this without her. When I would travel a lot, and she always laughs and tells all our family about it too. But I'd land and come home. He's in re-entry stage right now, and just give him another hour or two, and you'll be out of it. And so when you're running and you're immersed into work, is all of that like particularly when you're traveling, it's 24/7 when you travel. You're working in the day, you're working at night, it's your dinners, it's on, and you have to transition out of that. And you have to consciously know that you have to do that. And you got to figure out what triggers and what tools you can use to help you do that. My dad was one that said at 5 o'clock, it's happy hour. That was his transition time. So he's like, we're done, 5 o'clock, work's done. And he would find a way to turn it off emotionally, work, and just get into whatever is happening, whether he was teaching, he played soccer growing up and he was my coach. He would stop working and would go to soccer practice, and that was his way to transition out of it. And then work would not really happen the rest of the day until the next day. So it's just getting your mind and your emotions out of something that you may have been 5 straight days of fully immersed into work. It's like when you do a conference or a meeting. If you're a meeting planner, you plan a meeting for 3 days, you're going up to this high, and as soon as it's over, you crash from it in a way. And you have to transition out of it because you're in such like an intense moment that there's a transitionary period there. And the more that you can be aware of that, I think, the better you can transition to have balance in how you work and be with family. So you're not always on.
I'm just thinking about the crash element. 5 days conference back to back, a lot of meetings that you were leading, and then people wanted to have a drink with you, and then they wanted to go dancing with you. I've seen this, John, with you. You come back.
Dancing. That's what they saw me dance the first time, but
you come back to Maryland. You're with your wife, Do you get tired? Do you have to sleep for a day before you get re-energized to jump into family life and being a dad and being a husband?
Oh, no, I'm not. I would say the reentry, as Ann says, and it's fun, we laugh about it. It's just, you're talking a lot and you're engaged a lot, and you have to be on a lot. So you just want a moment just to regroup. And so it doesn't take long. And you walk the dog, it's not a day or thing. It just takes a couple hours of just unpacking. And I find, for me, doing a lot of silly, busy work helps. I do a ton of stuff around the house. So I'll do whatever I can around the house to do something that's different than work, but also takes your thoughts and makes you do something that's productive, but not at all related to what you were just doing. So it transitions you. But I'm just lucky I have a great family with my kids, my boys, and Ann. They make it easy because we all have fun together. And when we get together, they help the process along because they're so awesome. Yeah.
John, I'll never forget Grand Hyatt, Washington. You were making the drive down from Frederick, Maryland, correct?
Grand Hyatt was from Annapolis.
Oh, from Annapolis. Okay, even farther. And you never seemed to be tired. Now, granted, we were 24, 25, 26 years old back then, but you did that drive. You've done a long drive for most of your career. Do you get tired, John?
Yeah, I mean, everybody gets tired to some degree, but I get up early. I get up at 5 o'clock every day without an alarm. I always have for forever. And first, when Ann and I first started dating and we first met, she was a night owl and I was a morning person. And over time, she's now morphed into a morning person too. So I don't think she's happy about it, but that's the way it's happened. But I've always had a lot of energy, and I think so I don't really ever feel too tired. Even when I travel and go overseas, if you love what you do and you love the people you work with and you get a lot of energy out of what you do, then you don't really feel tired because you have energy from the work that you do and the people you work with and the relationships you have at home and at work. There's times you do get, obviously, when you travel a lot, I always think that if one night on the road, no big deal. 2 nights, okay. 3 nights, you get a little bit, but by four or 5 nights on the road, that's when I get tired. That's when I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be on the road 4 or 5 nights in a row. That's just too much to me. it's too long. So that's probably when I get the most tired of it. I'm just like, I just want to get home and regroup and get back to a different routine. But
and I'll never forget one time we were talking about something. You're just like, I just need to finish up booking of this trip. Bart, what do you think? Should I go this way for my international trip, or do you think I should go around the world the other way? And I was like, are you serious? He's, oh yeah, I can go around the world the other way to get to the location. I was like, what kind of world are you living in? But it's so cool, John, that you've been able to be passionate about what you do, passionate about helping others. And that drive is incessant. It has been nonstop ever since I've known you, which is now 30 some probably years, nonstop. Your father set the example. Fantastic. Had you ever worked for an organization in which you did not feel fairly treated, or part of it in our Ritz-Carlton days together, or Marriott days together, I know you're always being treated well. If there was a boss perhaps, or a client or a colleague or a difficult situation, would that ever throw a road bump into your passion toward working so hard? And it was probably before Ritz-Carlton Marriott days. Does the question make sense? When things don't go well, if you don't feel appreciated, if someone yells at you, if the conditions are not ideal, does that throw a road bump into pausing your passion to keep on driving? Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think ideally, when you go through a long career, everyone says, "Oh my gosh, every boss I had was amazing." And I will say, I have had incredible bosses, even from my early days at Hyatt to Ritz-Carlton until now. So I've been super, super lucky, I would say, and I've learned so much from all of them. And we can get into that too if you'd like, because I have some fun examples. But I think the one thing that, as a leader and as you grow through your career, that is something that everyone needs to think about is this whole thing about adaptability. And you can choose to say, I don't want to adapt. They have to adapt to me. Or do you adapt to them? And so every boss is different, unique in a lot of different ways. And every one of us that works for a boss has to make that decision whether or not, if and how they want to adapt to the needs of the boss. And so I had this one general manager that I did the business plan, and I gave it to him, and he goes, I'm not going to read the business plan, the marketing plan. He goes, I'm not going to read it because I'm assuming what you're giving me is the best work you've ever done. And he goes, if it's not, I'll give it back to you and you can redo it. And I'm like, and I was irritated at the time. And I'm like, you know what? It's not the best work I've ever done. So I took it back. I redid it. I brought it back to him thinking he's going to say, great. And he looked at it again and he goes, are you seriously sure that you didn't, is there anything here that you could actually make even better? Are you sure that there's no more room for improvement, that this is the best business plan you have ever done? I took it back again. And the third time I came back to him, I said, and I thanked him. I said, you know what? Thank you so much, because I feel so much better about what I'm putting in front of you now that he goes, I don't even need to read it now, John, because I know that if you went back 3 times to do it, it's so rock solid that I'm good with it. It's approved. And so it's like my attitude was, I could have been really upset and frustrated around that, but instead I'm like, you know what? He's teaching me something that is going to make me better. And I took that as an opportunity to be better. Now my attitude could have been, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'll change a couple letters and change a couple of sentences and give it back and be done with it. But I genuinely wanted to make it the best that I've ever done. And I took it to heart. And it was actually a really good exercise. So my point is, you have to adapt to all your different leaders in a way. And some people expect the leaders to adapt to them. And it's not how the world works, unfortunately.
And what I heard from that story, John, is trust and empowerment. Your boss was giving you the flexibility and the empowerment to say, I'm going to trust you, but I'm asking you to look deep inside of yourself. Is this the best work? And what a brilliant move. Along the lines, John, of watching you be a leader for so long, my perception, I've shared this story also, great leaders don't need to make their team members cry. When I worked with John Harper, he would deliver news, good or bad, stinging or not stinging, and he did not make his team cry. You were talking about if people have bosses, they need to adjust their style often to how the leader wants them to be or needs them to be, or the expectations. As a leader, John, my sense was that you adapted based on what your team needed. What are your thoughts on that? Did you adapt based on what your team needed when you were a boss?
Yeah. At the end of the day, as a leader, you have to have a trusted relationship with the people that you work with. And my opinion, the way I viewed it is that if you want somebody that works for you to go above and beyond to create excellence and to deliver next level work, then they need to be with you and to follow you and to believe in you as the leader, that you're going to have their back and you're going to help support them and allow them and give them the ability to do that. And if you create that air cover for them, then they will feel like they can go out there, push themselves, deliver, get recognized for it, get the appreciation for it, and celebrate it. And then they know that you have their back. So if there's something that does happen more broadly above, that you're going to fight for them and risk yourself on behalf of them. And when that trust level happens all the way through, then it's amazing what talented people will do. But you have to earn it. It's all earned. It's not given just because you got a title. Yeah. You have to commit and care and invest as much into that relationship with the people that work for you and the people and your bosses in order to create an environment where they feel like they're empowered to push the envelope. And that when they do, and they may make a mistake or go too far, that they have somebody that they trust is going to be there to support them and have their back because they're with you. You're together in that. And so to answer your question it is about, when I was at Marriott running the hotels, I had 40 hotels, and 40 general managers roughly. And no matter what I did, I had to have A players that I believed in and that believed in me, because in order for that region to be successful, I have to have the best general managers that are empowered to do what they need to do, knowing that I support them and have their back to drive great results. And so you can't micromanage them all, but you have to make them feel like that you've created and you're protecting them in this environment. You say, and I told them all, my job is to get the obstacles out of your way so that you can excel on what you love to do and what your team loves to do. Let me get the obstacles and the boundaries and remove them so you can be free to get to the next level that you need to get to.
In that situation, you and I talked about it before we hit record. Can you talk about operational excellence, and sometimes were some of the general managers perhaps more experienced more experienced than you at certain elements of what you were trying to lead them to do?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you take on a role like that, Mark Furland hired me back in the day. I'm the general manager of Naples, and we've been great friends, and we have so much mutual respect for one another. And so when I took over the role, and he had the role before, he's very talented. He used to be a regional, and just called him up and said, look, this is where I'm coming from. This is where you are. You know how to run your hotel better than I do. I'm not even going to pretend I do. So that's not what my role is here. But where do you need the help and support that I can come in and be someone that can help you achieve what you're trying to achieve there? How can we partner together that way?
Brilliant.
More a partner than coming in and saying, I'm a boss. It's more about, I want to come in and try to make sure that I support you where you need it. I get rid of the obstacles and figure out how I can help you achieve the excellence you want to achieve. Yeah. And so every one of the general managers, it was a one-on-one approach with every one of them. I had some that are new and very new at a general manager, so that's different. But what's important, I think, what was important for me is that throughout my career, in all the different meetings and regionals and everything I've been part of, what helped me be ready for that role was that I did not live in a silo in my discipline. I always looked at what was around me and learned from it. And that's the beautiful thing about the hospitality business and hotels is you got so many different disciplines, so many different things. There's so much you can learn by just opening your eyes and ears and just absorbing what's happening around you. Mm-hmm. And if you take advantage of that, then it can help you position you for a bigger role down the road, because then you have knowledge in a lot of different areas. Like I laugh at it because I knew more about chillers and redundancy with chillers and boilers and warranty and the timeline it takes and getting airlifted up on top of a building before I even got in the role, because I've been in so many meetings where that was talked about. Yeah. I chose to just listen to it. And so many times I see individuals that are in their discipline and they're in a meeting with 12 people and it's a half-day meeting, a full-day meeting. They're stuck in their computer, just doing email like that. And all this conversation is going around them.
And they're missing it.
And I have always, from my days at the Grand Hyatt, when you and I worked together, if you remember, we used to do the tentative meeting in the boardroom.
Of course.
And no one really cared about my tentatives because it was 30 rooms, government rate for 4 nights. But then when Dan or Joe had something that was like National School Boards, which is 800 rooms for 6 nights, everyone that's the most important thing. But I chose to listen to how that conversation happened and how they negotiated the decision on what to take, the patterns, the rates, and absorbed it all, knowing that one day I want to be in that seat. In order for me to be in that seat, I better learn as much as I can now. And so I did that in all the areas of the business. So when I took over the role in the East, I wasn't perfect. I didn't know it all, but I was surprised at how much I had retained by being more in the moment of all of those opportunities rather than just sitting in my computer and ignoring all the conversation around me.
So there is this curiosity, John, about you of always wanting to learn. And I shared this quote before, it's easy to be, but it's better to become. John, you were hired at Hyatt because you wanted to get into a company that was more well-known, had more opportunity, had more growth potential. Then your goal was to work harder than everyone else and to move up that ladder. And you've been able to do it by listening and learning and being curious. As you were talking about certain engineering things, Hyatt Fair Lakes and Hyatt Dulles, our general manager at the time, insisted on everyone reviewing all of their details, each of the guidance team members, before the owner meeting happened. So we would go through and we would be quizzed on, okay, Charles just said something about the plenum air return. What does that mean? And we would have to answer it because we were a team. And shout out to Gail Smith Howard, because she taught an awful lot to us about learning and wanting to learn about others. John, just a few more questions. You have always seemed to me to be very even-keeled, that you don't get emotional. You get excited about things, you're passionate about things, but you don't get emotional about things. If it's an owner that was perhaps mad at some results, if it's an employee that you have to discipline, my sense is that you've always been very even-keeled. Here you are. Are you truly even-keeled, or is it a way that you have been able to position yourself in a good way to be able to handle things?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. You have to ask Annie, my better half. But I don't know. I think it's, again, I've always looked at it. If somebody comes to me with a situation or a problem, whether it's an owner or it's an employee or whatever it may be, I look at that as a bit of grateful that they think that I can come help. And so I go right to, I appreciate the fact that you're coming to me. That means I may be able to provide value, help guide you here. So I take those moments more serious, that if somebody's coming to me and they have a problem or it's an emotional situation, whatever, that at least they're coming to me. And they're coming to me because that means they think that I can help them solve this thing. So let me try to help solve it and try not to make it emotional. When I think about a lot of the great leaders I work with, one of the best at that is Chris Gabaldon. And Chris is one of the smartest leaders, and he's super, super talented. But whenever I would go to him with something, he would always look at it very objective and not emotional, and look at it very strategic and say, because sometimes I would come in hot and say, look, I got that. And he'd be like, wait a minute, I don't think that's a big deal. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so when you work with leaders that actually diffuse it, you end up learning how to make sure that you look at it very objectively, because that's, at the end of the day, we all have emotion, we all have passion. But when you make big decisions and you have situations in front of you, to calm and say, let me just look at this objectively, because that's the best way out of it, rather than adding to it and being emotional about it. So yeah, I think it's just part of it. Just, I mean, even my family, my mom will call me and be like, all right, we need John to weigh in on this one, because he's going to look at it without coming in all crazy and emotional and yelling and screaming. And so it's the same way, I think, at home, I think.
It's a great skill, John. It's a great skill. And I remember distinctly opportunities where you, as a friend, not as my boss, have helped me with situations that were very emotional. Oh, I can't believe they're mad at me for this. I can't believe this client canceled and I don't know what to do. It was our mistake. And you're just like, okay, let's just talk about it. Very reassuring. And I trust you implicitly and explicitly. I don't know what the difference are in those words, but I trust you, John. I've always trusted you because you've always had my back as a friend. You've always had my back as a colleague. And I think that is just right. That's what makes you an exceptional leader. Of course, that's what makes you an exceptional human being, more so than an exceptional leader or hospitality person. It makes you an exceptional human being. And I appreciate that about you, John.
Thank you, Bobby. I feel the same way about you. We trust each other. We've gone through a lot together. And it's, again, go back to when we first met and when we started the Grand Hyatt days and the relationship that we built then. We could go 5 years and just pick up the phone and it was like yesterday.
Yeah, you know, it's fantastic.
Because we both have equally invested into that trust and that relationship. And that's the core of everything that I do. It's core to everything I do. And it really, for hospitality in particular, it's super important. But as a leader and with working with coworkers and your team, you have to have a relationship with everybody. If you want to get, in my mind, if you want to get the most out of life, it seems a little bit, maybe to some, a little bit phony, but that's the way I view it. That's how I've always operated.
You're authentic and you're real. It's not phony. It's not phony. And when you want to help people, it's authentic and it's real. I'm going to transition to your role now as co-founder of Global Hotel Advisors. And before I do that, when we started off the call, you said, okay, I wanted to join Hyatt because I wanted to work as hard as I could. I wanted to have as many growth opportunities as I could, and I wanted to excel as high as I could. You shared that you have exceeded your expectations for where you thought you would be. You were a vice president. I can't even count the number of times, John. Area managing director, vice president of global sales, vice president of sales for Ritz-Carlton regional, vice president of international sales offices. The decision now to switch to leave Marriott International and retire and start your own business. Were there any things that prompted you, because you were still growing in your career? Can you share with our listeners just some of the thought process behind, and was it a difficult decision? Because you had your site hospitality, that looks like this bucket. There's all different elements in this bucket, but your goal was to get as high as you possibly could, and you exceeded your expectations. Now to start a consulting organization, which we will get to, how did that jump feel for you, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. Yeah, it's not an easy decision. I absolutely love working for Marriott International and the company, and everybody there they're an amazing group. The culture, all the way from Mr. Marriott to David to Tony, all the way, is just, it's been so much, it's given so much to me personally and so much to my family. And it's an incredible company. So to go through this when you love where you work, you love the people you work with, you love the company. And I sat down with Ty and Breland and I were talking about this. He's, are you mad? Are you angry? I'm like, not at all. I love this company. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I feel it's just, for me to transition has become less of a career decision and more of a personal decision on where I thought I want to be personally in my life, with how I want to live it with my wonderful wife and my family, my kids, my dog. Today, it's a little earlier than I anticipated and planned on, but I always thought that at some point I wanted to transition into something that had a little bit more balance in my world, and that because I've been so focused on just grinding it out for so many years and working so hard and doing everything I can to try to provide for the family and do all the things I needed to do, support the team around me. And I care a lot. I care a lot about work. So when you care a lot about work, it's hard to always turn it off. You're always going to be all in on that. And so I pushed myself to say, you have one shot at this life, and you don't want to have regrets. You all have some sort of level of regrets. But for me, it came down to, I've always wanted to do this. This was always my dream, to transition and to do something different on my own and to believe in myself to do it. And the company has been an amazing and great and supportive of doing it. And it was not easy to leave, but it felt, let's do it. And the cherry on top of it all is to do it with obviously Bob Crosby, who's a dear friend of mine and my boss, and who I call, and I introduce him and I call him this, and I mean it, the godfather of luxury. There's nobody out there in this universe at all that is amazing as he is as a human being and as a leader, and how he takes such a complex business and simplifies it all the way down to a line employee, an hourly employee, or a front desk clerk, or whatever it may be. And to leave such a great thing and transition and do something with somebody that you admire so much, Bob, and obviously Steve Divino, who's part of this as well, and a dear friend. We've worked together for 25 years. It made it a little bit easier, because you're leaving a group of very strong work friends and people that you really like to work with, but you're transitioning and still working with some. But the people and the relationships, I'd say the hardest part about it all is really the relationships that you spend so much time developing over the years at a company that is very relationship driven. And you build, it takes time and effort and years of building up those trusted relationships. So when you call somebody, and I had a situation right before I left, and I said, I need help with something. And they said to me, if John Harper's calling, it must be important. because he only calls if you really need something and it's probably legitimate. And so those are the things that you build and you work on so that when you do call and you do need something right away, they're like, what can I do to help you? Because if you're calling, you needed this, we believe that it's probably something that's legitimate. And then if they help you fix it, then you go back to the hotel and say, hey, I got it fixed for you. Then all of a sudden, that's a magical thing that we work towards. And that's something that is something that we created and we work really hard for. So it's hard to leave all of those built relationships and all of that and to go try something new. But ultimately, it comes down to really more of a personal decision.
Yeah. And John, and thank you for sharing that. But in something that I learned, and I made this statement a long time ago, friends longer than colleagues, you and me.
Yep.
Friends longer than clients, me and so many people, you and so many people, and the true friends, the true relationships. And I believe that 99.9% of the relationships that you have, Mr. Harper, are true, aren't going to go anywhere. People are still going to like, respect, and follow you. And I can guarantee you, John, that when I release this podcast, which will be in a few days, I could guarantee you that we're going to get more comments and more likes on LinkedIn than probably any other podcast that we've done because of who you are, the reputation that you've built up in the industry, because you're a real authentic person that cares. That is incredible. Now you get to do this Global Hotel Advisors with some great friends, Bob Crosby, Steve Davino, and include a couple of other friends along the way and still help out some of the properties. It's all good. It's for so many good reasons. And I'm proud of you for doing it. And it goes back again to that statement. It's easy to be, but better to become. You were talking about you wanted to continue to learn. And if you didn't do this, you would probably regret it. Now's the time to do it. You're not 70, you're not 80, you're 39. So now's the time to do it.
Right. And I want to give a shout out to James McBride too, because you've had James on the podcast.
Of course, yes.
And James is a dear friend of mine, and we opened the Ritz-Carlton 22nd and M together. And he taught me a lot, two things. He taught me a lot about luxury early on. I owe a lot to him because his attention to detail. When I first met him, we had breakfast. We flew in from Asia. We had breakfast at a local hotel in DC, and we sat down for breakfast. And this is 26 years ago. And one of us ordered an orange juice. I don't know which one, and it was $8. And he threw off the breakfast because he was so fixated on the orange juice being $8. And he said to me early on, and this is going from Hyatt to Ritz-Carlton for the first time, so I'm still learning this luxury thing. He goes, if it's $8, it better be the best orange juice I've ever had. Because I'm willing to pay $8, but it's got to be great. And it wasn't. And so then it became a thing. But the thing that James had always pushed me to be uncomfortable early on, and I'll give you a quick example, is when we opened the Ritz-Carlton 22nd, at the time, the Delta shuttle flew from LaGuardia to Reagan Airport. And he came to me and goes, John, I want to put a piano in Reagan Airport at the gate. So when people come off the Delta shuttle, we have somebody playing the piano, and we get to get all these New Yorkers to see that the Ritz-Carlton in DC. And I left his office saying, there's no chance that's going to happen. And so I went back and I was like, yeah, whatever. Then a week later he comes by and goes, where are we with it? And I go, I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I didn't believe in it. And he goes, John, if you work hard enough, you can make that happen. I said, how am I going to make that happen? And so I'm like struggling. There's no way they can allow security was not what it is today. I'm like, there's no way they can let a piano and this and that. So I go to Colleen Evans, who did PR at the time, amazing PR lady. She had some relationships with the airport. She called. They're like, nope, not going to happen. So then I said, well, look, we tried. This is not going to happen. He goes, don't give up. Keep going. So I'm like, oh my. So we first, Colleen got involved and we did something and called the right person. And then we got a charity involved and we did this whole thing. And all of a sudden the airport allowed us to put a piano in at the gate. Wow. At Reagan Airport. So when everybody came off the Delta shuttle, the first thing they saw was Ritz-Carlton, a guest room, our salespeople, and someone playing the piano. And he pushed me. He goes, John, when it comes to creating excellence and luxury, and when you enter this space, you have to push yourself to areas that you don't think are achievable, because that's when excellence and that's when great things happen. And what we didn't anticipate is that for those of you that know and have like piano players, they work from 10 to 2 in the morning. And so to get a piano player to show up at 7 in the morning was really our biggest challenge. And they're not on their A game at 7 a.m. Let me just say that. But throughout our journey together, and James and I talk to this day, and I thanked him again when I made this transition, but I thought of him a lot in this because he always made us push ourselves to be uncomfortable. And it goes all the way down to the hotels. And when you think about hotels, it's something we're so passionate about. I was in Iceland for a customer event, and I went up and we were doing a breakfast. I went up early to get a cup of coffee because I got up early. And the whole team was there, and all the chefs were there, the culinary team, everybody was there ready for all. We had a bunch of real top customers coming in. And I went up and I thanked them all. And I said, thank you all for all you're doing. Thank you for putting us all together. And they said, no, thank you. I go, okay. And they go, thank you for having this event here, because what it's doing, it's allowing us to push ourselves beyond our comfort and to try new things and to see where our boundaries may or may not be.
Wow.
And so that's what's so fun about the luxury side of the business is it's not about transactional, just checking in a guest, making it happen. It's about how do you push yourself into a whole different place that you don't really even know what the outcome could be. And so James pushing me, I fought it. There's no way I said there's going to have a piano in there, but we did. And so when you think about our, like just the staff at a luxury hotel, creating something different and new, they go on that journey and they push themselves to do that. So winding that all the way through, for me to depart and try this is probably wouldn't have happened if those influences in my life, James, did not push me to say, be uncomfortable, it's going to be okay. Because it would have been very easy for me to stay in the comfort world.
Yes.
But he always pushed me to go to that whole another level of where I didn't even know could even be there. I wanted to share that story with him because he was a significant influence on me in the early days and showed me the light in so many ways about how luxury should work and how to be uncomfortable in order to get to where you need to get to.
And I shared the quote, leap and the ground will appear. So Shannon McCollum, who is the vice president of, I guess, hotel operations at Resorts World International, said that when I interviewed her. She said, yeah, doing things that you have not done before, it's not always easy, but boy, it can be rewarding. And yes, it can be scary, but why not? You only have one life to live. And we started the conversation by talking about regret. You would regret not trying this. And you could have retired 10 years later or stayed with Marriott International for another 12 or 15 years. But you know what? You have the support and the friendship of all the Marriott International people. You're not going to lose those relationships. Why not try something new with some friends, Bob Crosby, Steve Davino, and others? Why not try something new? Which we are going to then conclude. Global Hotel Advisors, I will make sure that I have the web address. It's globalhoteladvisors.com. How would you, this goes out to, we know, top 2% in the world podcast. It goes out to a lot of different folks. Some are owners of property, some are developers, some are executive directors, some are entrepreneurs, some are billionaires. What is the best way to summarize what Global Hotel Advisors and your new company, how they can help people listening currently?
No, thank you again, Bart. Yeah, we're very excited about it. I think with the three of us, Steve, Bob, and myself, we have over really 100 years of truly global, worldwide experience running hotels and we call it really from A to Z. I mean, everything from the beginning, from the early talking about a new development, from the architecture, the design, the opening. We've done everything, obviously, from the performance once it's opened and all the way through. So from the beginning to the end, we've all got experience around the globe on being part of that. And we genuinely feel that we can help elevate the segment, the luxury segment, even wherever we can. And it's our passion. Our passion is to say, how can we help hotels be successful? That's really what this is all about. And then so the three of us together, and then we have a dedicated kind of collective team of experts that are in spa, PR, branding, marketing, sales, that are truly experts in their discipline, F&B, you name it, every area of the business that can come in and help craft very personalized approaches to solving solutions. What When we think about relationships, and one of the things that we talk a lot about, and Bob is, again, the godfather and is brilliant at this, our foundation of what we focus on is the fact that for the hotels to be successful, the employees that are working in the hotel, that are checking in the guest, serving the guests, the housekeepers, they're the most important relationship with the customer. And if that does not work, then it doesn't work. And so a lot of what we focus on is the bigger, anything we can do to advise and help support hotels to be successful. But we get as granular as how can we make sure that the culture, the belief system that you're putting in place in a hotel, that everybody buys into it, the leaders buy into it, the employees buy into it. It's part of something bigger and something more special, because when that happens, then the guest feels that when they check in. And so I'm always amazed, and this is what gets us so excited where our passion is. We're always amazed that when a family stays at a luxury hotel and they spend $40,000, and then the last day, they spend probably 2 to 3 hours writing a thank you letter to the general manager, to the CEO, whoever it may be, and making sure they get everybody's name in there that they engage with. So they're paying the hotel. But the hotel should actually be writing the letter to them, in all fairness, but instead the guest is making sure that everybody there, that the name, what they did, who they are, and how they impacted their stay. And so I received thousands of those. What I've never received is somebody said, we love this hotel because we love the wallpaper that's in the guest room. We love the flooring on the floor, and we love the bathroom amenities. The staff is a little bit rude and obnoxious, but we can't wait to come back. They never talk about the physical plant. They talk about the fact that the people in the building are the ones that made it special for them. So when I talk about A to Z, we can do everything from the beginning development stage. But we also have this passion around the fact that how can we help hotels make sure that they drive that excellence all the way down to the culture and to the employees, because whatever brand is on the building, if it's not enlivened by those that are engaging in building relationships with the guest each and every time they order something or they go through, or the housekeeping, whatever it may be, then it doesn't exist. So a lot of our passion is around that as well, and how we can help. But it's going to be a great journey. And again, our mission is to help whoever needs the support and help that they need, and we can customize it and personalize it based on what the need may be.
Yeah, amazing, John. I think that's remarkable, especially with your experience, Bob's experience, Steve's experience. I know you all will be incredibly successful. So it's globalhoteladvisors.com. For our listeners, please check it out. Learn more about John, co-founder and president, Bob Crosby, founder and CEO, and Steve Davino, co-founder and president. John, the last question that I have for you, and thank you for chatting. Of course, nice to get reconnected, of course, with a friend, but to have my enthusiasm toward you as a human being, as a leader, and as a friend, I wanted our listeners to be able to learn that about you also, to see that part in you, and then naturally, they're going to become even more raving fans of John Harper, and then they're going to want to recommend, refer as much business as they can for Global Hotel Advisors. John, can you fill in the blank? Most people don't blank.
They don't take advantage of what's around them, particularly in hospitality. As I mentioned earlier, they should be more of a sponge, so that all the things that are happening around them on a daily basis, if you just take advantage of that and lean into it and be proactive with it, you'd be amazed at what you can learn and pick up and how it can help really, I think, shoot you forward, particularly in hotels.
Fantastic. All right. John Harper, thank you for being our guest. This is getting close to episode 200. Proud to know you as a friend. Proud to know you as a human being. John Harper. Yeah.
Thank you, Bart. I appreciate it. And I feel the same way about you.
Yeah, thank you. For those of you that might be new to the podcast, my name is Bart Berkey. I am the founder of Most People Don't. It's a company that is designed to help people get better, to help people to be inspired to do more, to achieve more based on taking action. During my 16 years with Ritz-Carlton and 30 years plus in hospitality, I gained a unique perspective on how the element of service can inspire intentional, above and beyond actions. Not only do we have the podcast, I travel around the globe with keynote messages in addition to sales and service training. If you are a group or organization that is in need of some motivation or an inspirational message, please reach out to us through our website, which is mostpeopledon't.com. Most importantly, thank you for doing what most people don't.